I'm Shivani Gupta. I'm obsessed with small to medium businesses growing. As business owners, we take so much risk and we want to make sure it's worth it. I believe one of the best presents you can give yourself as a business owner is to be able to learn how to scale your people, your profit, and your processes. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Grow Your Business podcast. I am so excited. My guest today is Michelle Broadbent. Her CV is pretty long, but let me give you an abridged version of it. She is a small business strategist. I've had an opportunity to know Michelle for a number of years now, and she does some amazing stuff. She is an advisor and a strategist. She also has her own podcast, so she's a host, she's a speaker, and she provides tailored strategies, the high-end touch points, solutions, and support, particularly for overwhelmed female entrepreneurs. Her own podcast is called Your Business Boost Podcast. I was just speaking to her earlier before we started recording, and she runs a lot of planning days for some clients. I'm so excited to finally have you on this podcast. Michelle, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Shivani.
Well, one of the things that I'm always curious about, Michelle, is kind of what got you here. You know, what are your high highs? What are your low lows, whether they're in business or otherwise? Tell us a bit about your journey in terms of what's got you to where you've got to today.
Oh, so I have got I'm going to age myself, but I have got like a 20 plus year career in supporting small businesses. So I've worked for big corporates, but my sort of strength has been always supporting small business owners. So I was employee number 2 for 2 startups. So prior to starting my own business, I worked in the television industry for a long time, working with founders, sort of coming in as their sidekick and building those businesses from solo entities into international multi-million dollar businesses. And we did that. Obviously, I was the sort of the operations side of things, and they were front and center. And that's kind of always been my position as like the woman behind the woman. And it's where I've, always felt really comfortable. But after kind of 10 years in the media industry, I had fallen pretty much out of love with that world. And I'd always sort of had this little burning desire to go out on my own, but I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And so I worked with a coach to help me sort of unlock what my value was to other people. Because I'm sure a lot of the listeners can relate, when you have been in an environment or an industry or kind of known for something for such a long time, it's very hard to recognize within yourself what is actually valuable to other people outside the world that you are currently operating in. So I got some expert help to unlock all of that. And so 7 years ago, started my own business where I was very much hands-on supporting female entrepreneurs as their business manager, looking after, again, like pretty much what I was doing in my other jobs. And then about 4.5 years ago, pivoted out of the hands-on stuff and focused very much on strategy and support, but not me actually doing the doing.
Yeah, amazing. And so 7 years, but really 20 plus years plus corporate experience in terms of some of the stuff too. So
yeah,
in that time, whether it's in business, working for others or working for yourself, there must be a lot of challenges that come your way. And I'm always interested in, like, what do you do? Like, do you have a particular system, knowing that you're very into systems and organizations? Do you have a process or a ritual? Take me through what some of the things that you do when challenges come your way. Like, what's your process? What do you do?
So look, there have been some absolute monumental curveballs that have come my way. A year into starting my business, my marriage fell apart. So I was literally, it was like, do I stay or do I go in terms of my business? My business was only 12 months old. I had put in a lot of time and energy and effort into it. But it was like, can I have build something that's going to sustain me and my two children? And I was literally scrolling through job ads on Seek and properties in Queensland on realestate.com. Like I was, do I jump ship or do I pursue, to my which was my dream, and I think it was, in terms of any challenging situation, I mean, that's probably the most extremely challenging situation that I have faced. But whenever I am faced with a challenge like that, it is it's a real kind of forensic examination of like the pros and the cons. And it is a pretty systemized way that I go about it. It's funny, I've never really thought about it until you asked that question. It's like, I do have a process. I didn't think that I did, but I do.
Yeah.
So it is that what is the like, what's the cost of this going to be to me, to my life, to my business, depending on, and is that kind of, I guess, like, is the cost worth the investment or the pain or whatever that is? Can I work through it? Sort of measuring up those pros and cons, and giving myself, I guess, like space to process these things. So I'm an impatient Taurian, right? So I can be a little bit bullish. And I think as I've gotten, as I've grown up, as I've gotten older, as I've been running a business for longer, my impatience does not serve me well. So it is actually about kind of stepping out and really giving things the space and, myself the bandwidth to actually process these things, for what it really is. Like, is this true? Is this really catastrophic or not?
Yeah, I love that. But at the same time looking and going, hey, I might need a plan B here, but really sticking to that vision in terms of what was really important for you there.
Absolutely.
And that dream.
Yeah.
And so where you are today, and I think we can almost say we're post-pandemic, even though there's still stuff around. What about future aspirations, Michelle? Where do you want to take the business? Where do you want to take you? What do you love doing? What are the future, what are the aspirations for the future for you, both business or personally?
Yeah, look, Shivani, it's sort of, I feel a little bit like simplistic saying this, but I absolutely love what I do. Like, I love seeing other women succeed and supporting them to reach their potential for whatever success looks like to them. So I don't have Michelle's blueprint to making $1 million. Like, that's not what I do. What I do is very, very tailored to these individual women. But so often I see like women who don't know how awesome they are. And so I am almost like that, sort of like the pushy stage mom. It's like, the world needs to know how amazing you are. That's what drives me. And there is always women to support. I have got clients that I've worked with for many years. I have clients that I've worked with for, 2 weeks, and there's always new women coming into my world. And I just love supporting them and putting the spotlight on them and helping them do it with ease. Because the thing that I know for absolute certain is that we make this business of running a business so much more complicated than it needs to be. So I kind of my mission is to uncomplicate it and enable them to absolutely shine and live the life that they dream of, which, yes, includes building a business that they dream of, but they are more than just a businesswoman. So that is like, that's my driving force. That has kind of always been my driving force and will continue to be, and just supporting more women making a really positive impact and doing, I mean, God, you know a lot of women that I know, Shivani, how many amazing women there are doing amazing things. And it's just like, if I can make that experience a little bit easier for them, then that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Leadership philosophies or philosophies in general, Michelle, that you love follow by, live by? Like, what are some of the things that are really important to you around philosophies or leadership philosophies?
Yeah, so I was very lucky when I was like a spring chicken in my first corporate job. I got put through the Dale Carnegie personal development program. I think it was like one of the original ones. And again, I am aging myself here. But, you know, Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, was one of the original personal development books. And you know, his sort of philosophy around treating others how you would want to be treated, that is just something that I have lived by and continue to live by. And that, yeah, that is one of my philosophies. Another one that I, again, particularly as a parent, but also as a business owner as well, is all around like being the example. Like, and it, you know, it does tie into that treating others how you want to be treated, but it's like, you know, show people how it can be done, and you know, behaving in a way in which I would want people to treat me is, yeah, that's kind of my guide, I guess.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's interesting you said Dale Carnegie.
Mm,
My daughter's 14, she's going to be 15 this year.
yeah.
And Dale Carnegie was coming to their school. And I said, you should do that course. She goes, Mum, you know, really, like, is it going to be relevant? And she did the 3-day program and absolutely loved it. And I've seen the shifts in her already. And it's
I
only a couple of
cannot
months.
believe it's in schools now. That is incredible. Because I think I was 19 when I did the program. So I was, you know, I look back now, I was a child. But I am so grateful to my manager at the time who, you know, could see the potential in me. And he's like, you know what we're going to do as a starting point? I'm going to put you through this program. And it just set the course. And I think too that like me being of service in the work that I do, that very much stemmed or you know, was kind of fertilized in that arena, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Hey, what do you do when you're giving so much out to help female business owners and entrepreneurs to really help them shine, as you said? What are some of the things that you do for your own wellness? And it might be physical or mental or emotional. What are some of the practices that you have? Do you do them daily, weekly, monthly? Like, tell us a bit about your wellness rituals.
Yeah, so because I do, yeah, like give a lot, and also I'm a solo parent to two teenage girls, which is also there's a lot of giving involved there, and a lot of can be, you know, draining on the energy as well. So I do make sure that I have time in my day and in my week specifically for myself. So I am, you know, I love walking. I can walk for miles. And even if it's like a 20-minute walk, or I'm very fortunate where I live on the northern beaches in Sydney, there are some, you know, I live right near the bush. So there's nature all around me. That is something that is like absolutely critical to do on a daily basis. If I am not moving, as you know, you and I know, Shivani, sitting on our bum in front of a computer screen all day, you know, not a lot of creative thought comes from that. But for me, it is that walking in nature that does spark creativity, but also I don't go with any expectation. It's not like I go, I'm going to go for a walk and get all my best ideas. It's like I just need to move through whatever energy I'm carrying, because I do carry a lot of other people's energy as well. So walking is great. I also do like a weekly dance class, which is like such a fantastic release for me. It is like, you know, not movable on my calendar, which is great. But then I am really fueled by connection with my loved ones. So you know, even though I am giving a lot in my day-to-day work, I'm an extrovert, so I do get a lot out of spending time with like my girlfriends and my partner, and you know, just conversation. And I'm a reader. I love listening to podcasts. All of that. That's all the stuff that fills my tank. But and I do find if I don't do it, if it does fall off, the sort of priority list for whatever reason, I do feel like I feel the impact. So for me, it's scheduled in, it is booked in with the importance of work. It's like I'm looking after another client, but it's Michelle time. And that's how I am able to keep going and giving what I do, because I am an obliger. So I tend to put everyone else before myself. So it's just my little diary ping at me to go, no, Michelle, you need to have some Michelle time.
The part that really resonated there was not going for the walk to say, right, I'm going to solve that problem.
Mm.
Because I do that a lot. I'll go, right, I was going to set the intention and I'll use this bit to get clarity on that. It's just doing it. I love when you said that. It's just doing it because I need to do it. That was really on point there. That was great. And Michelle, tell me about some of the stuff that you've got coming up with work. Tell me about what platforms you're on. How do people find you and contact you?
Sure. Yep. So all the information on how to work with me is on my website, which is michellebroadbent.com.au. As you mentioned, I have a weekly podcast, which is called Your Business Boost, which I take listeners behind the scenes of what it's like to really build a successful business. So I'm sharing lots of other people's stories as well as like tips and insights from me. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn as well. So I'm happy to connect with listeners there. But so the work that I do is primarily one-on-one high touch support, where I love getting right under the skin of people's businesses. So I'm supporting some amazing women at the moment, and but always have capacity for more. So I'm happy to have a chat with anyone that wants to get in contact.
That is so amazing. You were always such a wonderful person to speak to. Thank you for making the time to be on Grow Your Business podcast.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I'm Shivani Gupta, and you've been listening to the Grow Your Business podcast. I hope you got one idea that you can think about or perhaps even implement straight away in your business. Thank you for listening. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn under Ask Shivani. Remember, I call it Ask Shivani, so please send me your questions that I can address in this podcast for you. And I would also so appreciate if you went to the Apple Podcast to rate and review this podcast.